Hey Labradors, today I'm going to be reading the classic poem, Casey at the Bat, a ballad of the Republic sung in the year 1888 by Ernest Lawrence Thayer and illustrated by one of my favorite author illustrators, Patricia Polacco. Cute little illustration there. Casey at the Bat. Casey, aren't you supposed to be at the big game today? Connie asked her brother. Oh, I'll get there in time. I'm the star hitter, aren't I? They can't win without me, he answered arrogantly. Oh, Casey, remember what Dad always says. Be on time, always play your best, don't count your hits before they're pitched, and do it fair and square. Hey, I'm the best, he growled. Best or not, it's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock? The game! Come on, Connie. We're late. You're late, kid, the umpire barked. It was Harry Donovan, the meanest, leanest, keenest ump in the Little League. Of all the people to see Casey arrive late, Donovan had a murderous look in his eye as Casey and Connie ran into the stadium. Casey's fellow teammates were none too cheerful either. Okay. Game today, Mudville Meadowlarks versus the Williamston Hornets. So here's where the classic poem starts. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2, but with 1 inning left to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a pall-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to that hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could but get a whack at that, we'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey and did also Jimmy Blake. The former was a hoodoo while the latter was a cake. So upon the stricken multitude grim melancholy sat, for there seemed very little chance of Casey getting to bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted, and men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second, and Flynn a huggin' third. Meaning, a tying run at second base. Then from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It pounded on the mountain and recoiled up the flat, for Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile lit Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. "10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. Then, while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eye, a sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air, and Casey stood a-watching in a haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded speed. That's not my style. The ball unheeded sped. That's not my style, said Casey. Strike one, the umpire said. Look, he's not even looking, not even swinging. From the benches black with people, there went a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. Kill him, kill the umpire, shouted someone from the stand. And it's likely they'd have killed him, had not Casey raised his hand, and with a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult, he bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the dun sphere flew, but Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, Strike two! Fraud, cried the maddened thousands, and an echo answered, Fraud! But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. The sneer has fled from Casey's lips. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light, and somewhere men are laughing and little children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. He didn't hit it. Sorry, Casey, the umpire said, but I calls them the way I sees them. Aw, it's okay, Casey answered softly. I was struck out fair and square. Guess I was counting my hits before they were pitched. Huh, Dad. His dad was the umpire. Come on, kids. Let's go home and see what's for dinner. And that's the end of Casey at the Bat. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend, Labradors. See ya.